Welcome to the Vacation Races and Friends podcast, a podcast about events, travel, and the people who love both. Find more episodes at vacationraces.com. Welcome back to the Vacation Races and Friends podcast. We are talking Zion Ultra 2021. Today we've got race director Lyle Anderson in.
Hello, everybody.
We're excited. 2021's been good so far.
It is looking very positive.
It's looking promising, better than 2020 was, so that's great. Here we are looking at our Zion Ultra. Coming up, give us the dates, Lyle.
April 10th and 11th.
All right, April 10th and 11th. If you didn't know the dates, you're probably really behind, but hopefully.
And hopefully I know those dates.
Yes, that's why I knew. I was putting you on the spot there, but I was pretty confident you had them. It's great. We're going to have 49 states represented, plus Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. So we have people coming from all over. Half of these runners, Lyle, have never been to Zion before.
It amazes me every year when we do these statistics and how many people it's their first time visiting the park at all of our races. But it's also pretty amazing that we're continuously getting, new people that are trying to experience something that
with Zion being such a busy national park, and a million visitors a year, they're saying it's becoming one of the most busy and most visited national parks. It's hard to believe that people still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And amazing. This course really gives you an amazing view, an amazing snippet of the surrounding areas right outside of Zion Canyon. So it's going to be a great experience. We have a whole bunch of people running the 100 for their very first 100 distance. So welcome to them, half of our 100-mile runners.
Yeah, it was my first and only 100-miler as well. So.
That's right. There's some funny stories about that 100-miler.
Yeah, Colleen was with me.
I was out there pacing you. We were on Grafton Mesa. It was the old course. We're going to talk about some course updates today. But yeah, I've been out on that course. We know these trails really well. So lots of first timers jumping into their first longer distances. So we're going to help you out. Today, we're going to talk really through everything that's going to happen out on your race, and just stick with us. We're going to go through the course. The courses, each one of them will go through the aid stations. We're going to tell you how to make your race amazing. So that's what we have on tap for you today as we dive into this Zion Ultra race guide. First off, Lyle, I want to talk COVID-19. I hate that we're still talking about COVID-19.
You and me both.
But here we are. Tell us about your COVID-19 precautions. Tell us about what people can expect when they come, because I think that's really on everybody's mind.
So, very good question. The nice thing is this hit us about a year ago this week, actually.
Yeah.
Last year, this time we were getting ready to do our Antelope Canyon Ultra when everything just started unraveling. And luckily, we were able to put on that event. I'm pretty sure that was probably the last event in the country that happened in 2020. And luckily for us, we were able to also put on our Bryce Canyon Ultra, which was the end of May. And I'm pretty sure that was the first event that happened in the country. And it put us in a very unique situation to try and problem solve a lot of these problems because nobody else had done it yet. And so we had to kind of put our best foot forward and try and figure out, how to best handle an event and keep it COVID compliant and all that stuff. And so throughout 2020, we were able to successfully hold several events and with a lot of changes. Some of them we'll be implementing for this event. The main one is normally at our events, we have a really amazing expo where we'll have vendors there and you can come pick up your bib and your shirt and talk to people and kind of just hang out and take in all the fun energy that surrounds the event. And unfortunately, we've kind of had to scale that back and just make it a drive-through bib pickup and shirt pickup only, and that'll be on Friday the 9th of April. So we'll have that up in Apple Valley, which will be also the same area that we'll be using for our start and finish line staging on the 10th. And so on the 9th, you can drive up, pick up your bib and your race shirt starting at 12 noon and going till 7 p.m. And then while you're there, you can also drop off your drop bag before you leave. The main difference with the drop bag drop off is normally we would have like a table set up with markers and tape, and you could go and like label your bags and all that stuff. We're not going to have that this year. You'll have to make sure you bring your drop bags pre-labeled and just ready to drop off when you show up there.
And you also mentioned, I love this suggestion, to put a card or something inside that drop bag that has your identification on it as well, because sometimes they just get shuffled around and things like that, and we don't know, where they're going to end up. And so it's good to have that also extra layer of kind of identification.
I can't tell you how many times I've picked up somebody's drop bag that like put some sort of tag on a strap or something like that, and I'm gathering all the bags and I'm grabbing them out of a truck and just so happen to grab that label and it pulls off in my hand and I'm like, okay, which bag did this go to?
Right.
So yeah, in that case, it definitely is a smart idea. I mean, what your bag looks like better than any of us do, obviously. But in the event that we can't find it, if you have a card inside that has your information, then it's easier for us to make sure that we get it back to you if you're wanting to have it returned to you.
Yeah, so bib pickup going to be drive-through style. So we've done this many times with our National Park series. It's really actually quite efficient and it works out really well. You can just stay in your car. We'll get you everything. We have great volunteers who are going to be there. And so you'll be able to have everything you need, just have those drop bags ready to go. What if people have questions when they're there at the bib pickup? Sometimes this feels not so personal, but how do we make sure that everybody gets their questions answered?
So that's a good question. And honestly, we'll be there, trying to answer questions as best we can too. So, if you have questions when you pull up to get your bib and your shirt, feel free to reach out to us and ask us if it's going to be something that requires a little bit more in-depth explanation, then we'll just invite you to pull over and we can go over and talk to you after you get your bib and your shirt and spend a little bit more time explaining that to you. But for the most part, I feel like if you're listening to this podcast and you're reading the race guide and you're reading the emails that we send out to you in the next several weeks as we prepare for the race, I feel like there's not going to be a whole lot of stuff that you're going to be unaware of.
You'll be pretty prepared.
Yeah, we really try to be very upfront and forthcoming with as much information, especially pertinent to the event, to make sure that you guys are well prepared for it. So other than that, and we'll go into it in more detail here in a little bit, but obviously, there's going to be some staggered start times to best facilitate social distancing, and also the main thing that really kind of I don't want to say the word sucks, but it does suck. Is that like when you finish the race, we would love nothing more than for everybody just hang around the finish line and make it a party for everybody to come in and unfortunately, we're just not in a situation where we can do that right now. We have to try and keep everybody, at least for the time being, it looks like things are improving, which is always great. And which means that hopefully sooner rather than later, we're going to get back to where we can just do normal events. But in the meantime, we still need to try and be compliant to the state and local guidelines. And so after you finish the race, we ask that everybody, gather their drop bags and whatever they need to, and then leave, as soon as they can. I mean, we're not kicking you out of there, but we're basically saying like, don't loiter around the finish line.
And it's handy just these days, keep a mask in your pack with you so that you can use it if you're in a crowded area. It helps us keep putting these events on. I think that's the biggest thing, Lyle, is we want to keep producing events.
Absolutely.
So let's keep this thing going in the right way. And if we do have to make some of these sacrifices, that's okay. We're still going to be out there and be able to run. So,
and just keep in mind too, that like, even though things are fairly open here in Utah, it's definitely easier for us to put on events here in Utah than other places. But even though things are fairly open here in Utah, there are participants that are coming that maybe aren't as comfortable with that as others are. So just be mindful of that like some people may not be as comfortable around other people. So do your best to be courteous and aware of their concerns and stuff. So like Colleen said, when you're gathered around the starting line and stuff, we would encourage everybody to wear a mask until you start running. Of course, when you're running, you don't need to be wearing a mask, but we would strongly recommend that everybody wear a mask when they're in heavily
peopled areas. When there's lots of people around. So, and if we all work together, it's going to be really easy. And as we've seen, we've had so much success with vacation races with these events and people being awesome about it. And when we've been having fun. So we're going to continue doing that. So we've got bib pickup. Tell us about the location of bib pickup. This is different if you've come previously to the Zion Ultra. So kind of explain this location and where we're going to be at this Ruby Rider Ranch.
Right. So historically, we've staged the event at the town park in Virgin, and the property that we've used to park all the cars on has recently decided to sell their property. So it really limited our ability to be able to park everybody for this event. Luckily for us, there's this Ruby Rider Ranch up in Apple Valley that we actually historically have ran by twice for the ultra distances that we've recently worked out a deal to be able to use for the event. And so we're going to be parking everybody and staging the start and finish line for the event on that property, which is great. We'll go into more detail of what that looks like for pacers and runners in particular as we get into the course specific details. But it's in Apple Valley, just a couple miles past the gas station there in Apple Valley, and it's going to be
easy to
awesome.
find. It's just on the different side of Hurricane Rim, I guess, that you're used to. So if you have come before, it is just a change. So just be aware that it is a little change as far as that goes. Okay, so Lyle, you hit on drop bags. We talked about how to get your drop bags. Tell me a little bit more about, I'm running the 100, and how are the drop bags going to work? Are there specific locations I can create multiple drop bags? What's going on with the drop bag procedure?
Yeah, correct. So pretty much most of the aid stations will have drop bags available at them for anyone running the 100-mile, 100K, or the 50K. If you're running the half marathon, the drop bags don't pertain to that distance. But anybody running the 50K, 100K, or 100-miler can leave a drop bag at any of those aid stations. There are a couple exceptions, but for the most part, pretty much all of them. And you can refer to the race guide for details of what aid stations will have drop bags. But pretty much for the sake of this audio recording, it's pretty much all of them.
All of them. Now, if someone is coming in early on Saturday and hasn't dropped off their drop bags, will they be able to do that on Saturday morning?
So that's a really good point. And honestly, we will try to accommodate that as best we can. I don't want to encourage anybody to do that because, it's going to be, there's a lot going on race morning with trying to get everybody started and get all the aid stations set up and everything. So it's not going to be our top priority. Drop bags will be, we have a deadline of 8 p.m. on Friday evening to have all your drop bags dropped off, and we're going to try and get all those drop bags delivered out that evening so that they're ready for you the next day when you start your race. But if you drop it off Saturday morning, there is a chance we can get it out there, especially if it's an aid station that you don't come to till later in the race. There's a good chance that we could get it out there, but again, like I said earlier, I wouldn't recommend it.
With these ultras, there's some planning that really has to go into them. It's not something that you can just kind of show up and do. There's a lot of prep on our end as well as on your end to make sure that you have everything. So drop bags, Saturday is when we need those. Friday. Sorry. Friday is when we need those drop bags. If you're coming in on Saturday, we'll do our best, but it's not a guarantee, especially at those early aid stations. Right. So. Anything else on the drop bags that you can think of?
No, the main thing with the drop bags, and I mean, we can't stress this enough. If you have very specific nutritional needs that you need on course, that's where the drop bags really are going to come in the most handy for you. If you're like me and you can pretty much eat anything, aid stations are fully stocked. Like we're going to have lots of options to choose from, so they're great. But if you have, if your stomach is very sensitive,
if there's a certain product that you use,
if you're allergic to this, that, or the other, and you want to make sure that you're not running any risk of trusting that the aid stations are going to have that particular food for you, use your drop bags. Put something in there that is going. And it's the same saying that they've said for years. Don't try something new on race day. So if you've been training and you're been really diligent with your training and you've been using this particular gel and this particular, granola bar or whatever, to train. And then come race day, you're like, well, I'm just going to use whatever they have at the aid stations. And like,
yeah, that's
good luck.
Probably not the best idea.
Yeah, good luck. I hope that your stomach agrees with you. But
there will be porta potties at all of the aid stations.
Right. They're amazing porta potties.
They are. Composting toilets is going to be great, but we don't want you to have to use them for the reason that you don't have the correct food. So use those drop bags wisely because they really can make or break.
And like event. when I ran this very particular 100-mile course, like the thing that I did that I always recommend to everybody whenever they ask me what would be the best advice you'd give me, and that is to change your socks at every aid station. Like having a clean, fresh pair of socks, like even if you don't need to, like it's not going to hurt anything. And so like put them in your drop bag. Just have a clean pair of socks that you can change into every time, and just make sure your feet are clean and you're taking care of them, because especially for these longer distances, that's going to be the thing that's going to stop you before anything else does is your feet. So
there's nothing better than something clean.
Right.
Just add an ultra because when you're 20 hours in, those socks look really good. All right, here we are Saturday. We've got our drop bags dropped off. We're ready for start time. So our 100-mile race start is going to be between 5 and 5:30. What's this going to look like in terms of start?
Right. Okay. So we did this last year and it worked really well. We basically just created a starting window. So the race officially is starting at 5 a.m. for anybody who's going for awards. So if you're one of the faster, more elite runners and you're wanting to go for, overall awards, then that's where you need to line up, is right there at 5 o'clock.
Are there awards based on gun time at that 5 o'clock time?
They're all going to be based off of chip time.
Okay.
Just because of the nature of how everything's staggered out. So normally I would say yes, that is the case. But because of how everything is, and everything's staggered, like everything's going to be going off of chip time. But we're still kind of holding on to that same mentality that if you are going for awards, then you need to go off of that gun time,
be
for
at
lack
the front.
of a better word.
Yeah, be at the front of that window at 5 o'clock. So, but you do have a window. If you don't want to start with the crowd, you want to hang back a little bit, take some time to go to the bathroom, you have a window to work with.
So all of the minimum pace times and all the cutoff times are based off of a 5:30 start.
Okay.
So if you're worried about cutoff times, then right after the fastest people start, then we recommend that if you're worried about cutoff times, you start right behind them.
Buy yourself 29 more minutes.
Right. And then anybody else, you've got a half hour, like Colleen said. If you need to go use the bathroom and don't want to fight with people on the trail, like right away, just take your time. You've got 30 minutes to get started. And like I said, that half hour is going to give you a little extra time to make those cutoff times. That doesn't give you an extra half hour to finish the whole course. Like the race finishes at 5:30 p.m. on Sunday.
Right.
But that's assuming that you started at 5:30 on Saturday in the morning. So if you finish at 5:30 on Sunday, 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, but you started at 5:05, then you're over your cutoff time.
Right.
You're over it by 25 minutes.
Right.
25 minutes over your cutoff time.
So yeah, just be aware. Start time affects cutoff time.
Right.
So, okay.
Right. Like you'll still be allowed to finish.
Absolutely.
But your overall time on the, as far as like how they're posted on the results page, like it's going to show as a DNF if you're over that 36-hour window.
Okay. So you've got 36 hours from when you start. Of course, the course will be open based on the time that the 5:30 latest window time. Okay. So 100 milers get started between 5 and 5:30. Same procedure for 100K. They're starting at 6.
Yep.
Between 6 and 6:30. 50K is going to go out at 7. Mm-hmm. And then we have our trail half marathoners headed out at 8 o'clock. Yeah. So a 30-minute winner.
Same thing for all of them. They all have a half-hour window. So 100 miles, 5 to 5:30. 100K is 6 to 6:30. 50K is 7 to 7:30. And half marathon is 8 to 8:30.
Okay, so pretty simple. It should be pretty easy and a pretty low-key start, which is a great way. That's what we love about ultra running, right, Lyle?
Right.
I mean, we love that low-key nature of it, and we like to keep that because that's what we love about ultras. So take your time, take a breather. If you want to be competitive, there's a spot for you. Just get out there on the course and go hammer it. This is a great course to be doing that for.
Right, and one of the things that I wanted to touch on really quick as far as this goes is on race day, we're going to have Colleen's going to be making some announcements that are going to be broadcast over your car stereos. So you can, when you show up to the parking lot at Ruby Rider Ranch, you can just sit in your car, go use the bathroom, do whatever you need to do. But to keep the congregating down, because we don't want anybody, especially if you're not running the 100-mile or the 100K, or whatever, if you're not running one of those distances, like there's no reason for you to be at the starting line adding to the congestion. Stay in your car. And as we're start to gathering people for it, we have a half-hour break between when the last group starts for each race and when we start the first one. So we'll be making announcements once we start the 100-milers at 5:30. We'll be making announcements letting all the 100K runners know, okay, like now's the time to, if you need to go use the bathroom or whatever, you can start making your way over to the starting line. We'll be starting in 30 minutes. And so just kind of wanted to touch on that, just make sure that people are aware that really don't make your way over to the starting line until it's time for your particular distance to be gathered. And
use
together.
that. We're going to have an FM channel that 95.1, I think is what we use out there at Ruby Rider. And you can just tune into that in your car. You don't have to get out of your car. Just sit and relax. It can be low key. I love it. I think it's great. You don't have to be cold and stand there and wait to go. You can just get yourself ready and really have a nice relaxed start. So great. So we got everything underway. Let's talk about these courses. We've got some course changes. So if you've run with us in the past, and Zion Ultra has had different iterations of their different, which I think is, I love that about this race is, the first time.
I like it and love it.
The first time I ran the Zion Ultra, oh my gosh, it must have been 2015. I think was the first year that I did. Matt Gunn was still in charge of it then. The 50K, we went up on Guacamole, and then we came over and we climbed Flying Monkey, and then came down Mesa Road and finished. The second time I did the 50K, we climbed up Mondo Z, and we went and did Gooseberry and came back down. So it was so unique to have those different experiences. And even though I was running the 50K, getting to experience different places on this course.
Right.
So we've got some changes for you. So let's go over the overview of what the 100 mile is going to look like. 36 hours is what you've got on the 100 miler.
Right.
And we're going to start there at Ruby Rider and head out to the most iconic trail probably you're going to be on, Gooseberry.
Right.
So
for the 100 milers, like Colleen said, they're going to be, we have changed the flow of the course. Luckily, if you've ran it with us in the last couple of years, it's all the same trails. Like we haven't changed any trails. It's just a different order in which we're running them. And so we'll be leaving from Ruby Rider Ranch in Apple Valley, and we'll be heading straight to Gooseberry Mesa and doing the Gooseberry Loop. And the same goes for the 100K as well. So the 100K and the 100 milers are basically following each other until they hit the Virgin Desert aid station. So they're going to hit the Gooseberry Goosebump aid station, do the Gooseberry Mesa Loop, and then drop down Mondo Z and head over to Virgin Desert. And from there, that's where they're going to kind of deviate. And the 100K runners are going to head basically straight to the Virgin Dam aid station. And the 100 milers are going to be doing a loop along the Hurricane Rim Trail. We'll have a water station set up for them between Virgin Desert and Virgin Dam aid station.
So when it comes to markings, Lyle, how is there going to be a differentiation for the 100 milers and the 100K? So what do I follow if I'm doing the 100 miles?
So it's a very good question. All the courses are going to be marked with the same markings. They're all going to be marked with pink markings.
Okay.
So there's not going to be any color differentiating.
So pink flagging tape is what you're looking for.
But we will have junctions marked very heavily with signage. So when you get to a junction, just be aware, runners do need to take a little personal responsibility in making sure that they, familiarize themselves with the course and where they're running as well, so that they know when they get to an aid station, okay, this is where we deviate. So I can't just follow the person in front of me, because the person in front of me could be running the 100 miler. And I don't want to follow them for unnecessarily mileage here,
Well, let me tell a funny story while we're here. At our Zion Half Marathon, we were up on Wire Mesa just a couple of weeks ago, the end of February, and we were setting up the finish line area and seeing some of the runners come through about mile 6.5. They were just about to get on the Wire Mesa loop. They needed to take a hard right. We had a big sign, a panel with a big arrow pointing right. We had multiple orange cones. I watched, I kid you not, 30 people just walk right through the cone, right past the arrow, right through the cones. It was absolutely amazing to me that and it happens when we run. Right. We just don't see things. So just be careful, be aware when you come to those junctions, and read your race guide. Make sure you know, okay, I'm not supposed to go out on Hurricane Rim. I need to be going to the Virgin Dam.
Yeah. And like I said, each runner needs to be personally responsible to familiarize themselves with the course as much as possible. Like, we are going to have it very well marked. We always do a really good job with that. And but to Colleen's point, you get talking to somebody and you're looking left when you need to be looking right or whatever. And it happens all the time. And the thing I always tell everybody is, if you've gone more than, 50 to 100 yards without seeing a pink marker, then you should be really concerned that you're off course. And take some time and backtrack to where you saw the last marker and make sure that you didn't miss a junction. But if you haven't seen a marker for longer than that and you just keep running aimlessly, hoping you're going to see one, then
you're not going to see one.
I'm not going to feel bad for you when you've ran 2 extra miles and you come back all upset because you didn't see anything in 2 miles, because we do not space them out that far.
Yeah, no, you're never going to go more than, like you said, 50 yards or so without seeing a marker. So just look for those pink markers, look for those white signage that's going to tell you which way to go. 100K is going to deviate. We've got the 100 milers out on the Hurricane Rim. They're going to do a loop there, and then they're headed up to Smith Mesa. Right.
So the 100 milers, when they get back out to the highway, they're going to be crossing the highway and climbing up on top of Smith Mesa. And the 100K is just going to be basically running. There's a little ATV trail that runs parallel to the road through the town of Virgin. And so the 100K will take a right there, and the 100 milers will just continue straight across the road and head up Smith Mesa. They'll do the Smith Mesa loop, and then before dropping down off of Smith Mesa, they'll hit the Flying Monkey water station that we'll have set up there, and on their way to the Virgin BMX aid station, where we will have crew access. So we'll have crew access at Virgin Desert, but then we'll also have it at Virgin BMX.
Okay. So that's, if you need to pick up a 100 miler, those are your early points at which you can do that as they're coming.
Right. And just be aware that, like, I get a lot of people emailing me and asking me about, like, crew access. Well, can I have a 100, if I have a pacer join me at Virgin Desert, like, can I swap them out at Smith Mesa? And the answer is no, because we don't have crew access there.
Right.
And so if they do, then they got to stick with you all the way till you get to Virgin BMX. So if they can't run that far, then don't pick up a pacer there.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're not allowing crew access at Smith Mesa is because that road is extremely narrow, and with runners going up that road and two-way traffic, it just wouldn't be safe for the runners. So no crew access at Smith Mesa. But you'll have drop bags there.
And you're early in the race. So hopefully, it's not going to be as big of a deal. So you come off Flying Monkey, you're through the BMX aid station, headed out to Dalton Wash and Guacamole.
Right. So then they're going to cross Dalton Wash, like Colleen said, and start their climb up to Guacamole aid station. Guacamole is an amazing trail. I always love Guacamole. It's probably one of my favorites.
But pay attention up there.
But yeah, that's the thing I was going to say. Gooseberry Mesa and Guacamole are notorious for people just putting their head down and following the white dots on the sandstone.
Well, let's talk about that, Lyle. These are mountain biking trails, and they're on slick rock. If you're not familiar with slick rock, the slick rock, number one, is not slippery. It's actually quite sticky. Why we call it slick rock? Because when water goes over, it looks very slick.
Yeah,
but
just sandstone.
It's just sandstone.
Very grippy.
Very, very grippy. And when you're on this, mountain bikers, they mark the trail with big white dots that they
spray
follow.
Paint. So
yes.
So and to Colleen's point, a lot of the course on both Gooseberry Mesa, Guacamole, Wire Mesa, Grafton Mesa, a lot of these slick rocks trail sections, even though our trail markings coincide with a lot of the dots, there are sections where we don't coincide with them.
Right.
And so it's really easy to just put your head down and just be following the dots, because it's like, well, I've been following these dots for 1.5 miles now. Like, I'm just going to keep following them. And it happens every time. And like when I did the 100 miler, I was constantly having to like yell at people, "You're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. Well, follow the pink markers."
And guacamole is notorious for this. I mean, my joke always is it's a 7-mile loop that you end up doing 19 miles on, and you're not quite sure how you did that. And so just really be aware of your course markings.
It's because guacamole is a lollipop loop.
Yes.
So that junction point,
you don't need to do it again.
every time when you come back from doing your little lollipop, you come back to that junction. I don't know why, but everybody automatically want to keep going. Like, even though it's very well marked, they just want to keep going and doing the same trail. So, like, just be aware of that. That is the spot of confusion for everybody.
Always. That is always the spot. But it is gorgeous up there, and the trail is so great. You're going to come off guacamole, and what's nice coming off guacamole is you get to run back down Dalton Wash, which is a grind. It's a grind climbing up there. So this is a nice section where you're able to go down before you get up to Mondo Z, and you head back up to Gooseberry Mesa or Goosebump Aid Station.
Right. And so the thing that I want to just kind of touch on real quick is, so between Virgin BMX Aid Station and Dalton Wash, there is a river that you're going to be crossing there. And, it's all runner preference. Some people are just like, I don't care if my shoes get wet. They just go straight through.
Right.
Me personally, when I did it, I didn't want to have wet shoes. I didn't want to have wet feet. I took my shoes off and walked across and put my shoes back on. It took a couple minutes, but like, it's just runner preference. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, like why it might be beneficial to have, a fresh pair of running shoes or have clean socks, and stuff but just be aware, it's not a lot of water. It's a very, like, maybe ankle deep, water. It's not deep at all.
You're not going to be, we don't need a rope or anything.
Right. No. And it's definitely not high flowing by any means, but it's going to be, there's going to be some water that you're going to need to cross there. So, so when you get back to Virgin BMX, at that point, you're going to basically just be following Kolob Terrace Road back down to the highway where you're going to cross. But then you're going to head up Mondo Z back up to Goosebump Aid Station, and we'll have a water monster set up for you right at the bottom of the hill. So it is a nice long stretch between the I'm going to mute my computer there, between Virgin BMX and Goosebump Aid Station, but the water will help just get you up that hill. It's a grind getting up that hill. So
it's steep. It's the steepest hill in there. And
you're going to be hitting it at about mile 73 on the course. And so my recommendation to everybody is trekking poles.
Absolutely.
Trekking poles.
So add Virgin BMX.
Right.
That's a great place to pick up your poles.
Right.
So consider that in your drop bag.
Right.
For that second pass through, grab those poles. And then if you don't want them at the top of
you can leave my
Goosebump, but you have them. And what do you say? That climb is, it's a mile. It's a solid mile that's really steep.
Yeah. So it's about a mile and a half actually getting up there. But like Colleen said, it's all runner preference. Like, some people don't like to have things in their hand. When I ran the 100-miler, like it honestly just gave me something to focus on other than the pain in my feet. So like it really can be a very helpful thing to just kind of get you through the end. And coming. Well, we'll get to that here in a minute. So
once we're up to Goosebump, so we're still with the 100-milers. They're up on Goosebump. They're going to head back down Gooseberry Mesa Road,
right? And
they're going to then go back by Ruby Rider Ranch,
right? Which we'll have a. So that's another crew access point. It's not an aid station, but it is a crew access point. It's right next to the start and finish line. So if you have crew, and this honestly for people running the 100K and the 100-miler, this is a great place to pick up pacers to help you for the tail end of the race. Like, you're going to hit that crew access point. You're going to be hitting that about mile 80 into the race. And so, for that last 20 miles of the race, having a fresh pacer that can get you through it is going to be very, very valuable and helpful at that point. And if you have somebody that is running with you all the way from Virgin BMX, they can get dropped off
Peel
there.
Off there. And then wait for you at the finish line. So once you're back to that Ruby Rider Ranch where that crew access is, you're going to be heading down Smithsonian Butte Road or Main Street in Apple Valley.
Right.
I feel like they've renamed that road recently.
But those of us local here, we call it Smithsonian Butte, and then like you look at the Google map, it's going to say Main Street.
So you're going to be heading down that. You got quite a quad crushing downhill right there until you get down to Wire Mesa, which is...
You're going to run past, before you get to Wire Mesa, you're going to run past the Grafton aid station.
Right.
So you have a choice at this point, whether you want to stop at it or not, is totally up to you. But it's going to be right there. It's only about a mile past that crew access point.
Yeah.
So
it's not very far in.
Yeah, so it's probably not really something that you're going to need.
You'll hit it again coming off of Wire Mesa. So
exactly.
You will see it again. So you're going to head all the way down to Wire Mesa, do the Wire Mesa loop. You've got about 6.5, 7 miles on that loop, and then head back up to that Grafton Mesa aid station, finishing the loop on Grafton.
Which again can be, like Colleen said, it's a quad crushing downhill. So obviously
you're going to have to go back up it. Yeah.
And so unfortunately, when you're coming back up, you're going to be coming back up, about 90 miles into the race at that point. And so your legs are going to be pretty wiped out. And this is where I was saying you may want to hang on to your trekking poles, at that point, because me personally, I think I'd probably really appreciate having them coming back up that steep hill.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to mince words. It's a double track road, so it's just a road.
It's a very well maintained.
Well maintained. It's not technical, but it is steep. I mean, it is steep, so you're going to have that late climb.
Right.
So just be prepared for that. Just know that it's coming. It's not long as far as in terms of your total mileage. You've got, from Wire Mesa all the way back up to the finish. You're looking at 3 miles, but you're going to feel it.
Right.
So.
Right. So then you'll go back up and hit that Grafton aid station, and you'll hit that about mile 92 and do the 6 mile loop on Grafton, come back to the aid station, and then from there you're just a little over a mile back to the finish line, and so it's a nice great place to have. Like I said, if you have a crew member that wants to join you and help pace you for the end, those two mesas are a great place to have somebody help you. But there is no crew access at either of those aid stations. So I just want to stress that to people. If you do have pacers that want to join you, the only place they can do that is at
Ruby Rider.
At Ruby Rider, at that crew access.
Because we're not going to allow traffic down that road. We got to keep our runners safe down there. So
and not only that, like, we don't need a bunch of vehicles kicking a bunch of dust that our runners have to deal with. So and
it has been dusty out here. We haven't had a ton of rain here in southern Utah, so it's been pretty dry. So we want to keep dust to a minimum. So that takes us to the 100-mile finish. We talked about the 100K, how they're going to deviate at the Virgin Dam aid station, where they're going to head back up onto Goosebump, up Mondo Z, and then they're going to do the same Wire Mesa, Grafton Mesa section. And that's the 100K. They have 21 and a half hours on the 100K.
Right.
That's their cutoff. Talk to me about the 50K. A little bit different. They're going in a different starting direction than these other two races.
Right. So the nice thing about staging everything in Apple Valley now is it gives everybody, all the distances, a chance to enjoy some of these Mesa views.
Yeah, which they're phenomenal.
They are. And when we ran it out of Virgin, the 50K had to climb up on top of Gooseberry Mesa, coming up Mondo Z, which is a killer of a climb. They don't have to do that now.
Right.
But we had to make up the difference of mileage somewhere. So now you get to run 2 of the mesas. So it's a win-win great for the 50K.
It really is.
So the 50K is going to start out at Ruby Rider, and they're going to drop down to Grafton aid station, and they're going to do the Grafton Mesa loop first. And then they're going to come back up past Ruby Rider.
Climb up that hill we were talking about.
Yeah, again, it's just a mile from Grafton, so it's not going to be... The worst part is between Wire and Grafton, so it's not as bad from Grafton. But they'll come up past the Ruby Rider again on their way out to Gooseberry Mesa. They'll do the entire Gooseberry Mesa loop, and then head back to Ruby Rider.
This is a great 50K.
It is a great 50K.
It's really a great 50K. I mean, as I'm thinking of these trails, I'm like, wow, that is some of the best 50K trail you're going to get. You got 11 hours on the 50K, And then for the half marathoners, 4.5 hour time limit on this one, and they get to experience gooseberry, which again, that is the iconic. Every single one of our distances hits that gooseberry loop, which it's incredible. Lyle, out there, I feel like I'm on the moon. I mean, it's just, it's a totally different experience when you're up there, and the views are absolutely gorgeous. Right. So it's a great half marathon course as well.
It really is. And I really wanted to make sure that the half marathon got to enjoy the views on Gooseberry Mesa, but obviously the whole loop would have been too long mileage wise.
Sure.
So you're getting to a taste of Gooseberry Mesa, which I feel like is a great teaser of what Gooseberry Mesa has to offer. And if you run the half marathon this year and decide I need to experience more, well, hey, we've got three other distances.
Plenty of trail.
We got lots. So.
Well, good. So we've got that half marathon that takes us through the courses. I love the changes this year, Lyle. I really do. I mean,
me too.
Being on this south side, shall we say, the south side, that's just, it's going to be great. So you guys are definitely in for a treat on that. We've talked about aid stations, about drop bags being at aid stations. What else can we expect at these aid stations as far as food, electrolytes, water? How's that all going to look? What's kind of our menu?
So generally, all aid stations are going to have water and gnarly electrolyte drink and gels and fruit and soda, the basics, and stuff. And generally, if you've ran any of our ultras with us before, you kind of know what to expect at our aid stations. But we generally will have a lot of salty and sweet, basic treats, for the earlier miles. And then usually around mile 25-ish, we'll start having more prepared food,
Okay.
So for those longer distances, we'll have, some sandwiches and some Nutella wraps and some quesadillas and
some more protein-based things, some heavier things.
Right. Well, boiled potatoes and things of that nature. And so we really try to, when your body's saying, I need more, we want to make sure that we have that for you.
And some hot options as well.
Right.
I mean, we never know what the temperature is going to be in April. Right. It can be warm. I mean, it's southern Utah. It can be warm, but it gets really cool at night.
Right.
Especially up on those mesas. So we plan for the temperature to change, but we'll have some warm offerings as well.
And again, like I said earlier, make sure and familiarize yourself with the race guide. There's a much more detailed explanation of all of this stuff in the race guide. For sake of time, we're just kind of breezing over a lot of this stuff in this recording, but really we pride ourselves on our menu offerings and making sure that our runners aren't going without on anything. So
bacon. Is there going to be bacon?
There's going to be bacon.
See, there's going to be bacon. Yep. I mean, it's just worth it right there. A Nutella bacon wrap, that could be good at mile 60 or 70.
I don't know, Colleen. We may have to do a how-to video with you eating a bacon Nutella wrap.
I don't know. That's got a savory and a sweet thing going on. It might.
It could be.
It might be interesting.
I tell you what's actually really good. People are gonna think that it sounds disgusting, but if you take and make a quesadilla, with cheddar cheese, and put brown sugar on it.
I'm sure because it just brings out the savory. I mean, it's
the most amazing thing. If you've ever been to Costa Vida or Cafe Rio and had their sweet pork quesadilla, tastes just like that. Tastes just like that.
Okay, there you go. Tips from Lyle on what you can have to prepare.
I may even instruct some of my aid stations to make some of those brown sugar
can you
quesadillas.
Imagine? And if you caramelize that sugar, I'm getting hungry, Lyle. We gotta stop. Okay, we're gonna talk about something nobody wants to talk about. This Grim Reaper guy. As far as we talked about, course cutoffs and the time that you have, but what about the Grim Reaper? At different points in the race, we've got Grim Reaper cutoffs where you're not going to be allowed forward if you haven't made it to a certain point. Right. So talk through those.
So these are, again, in the race guide, we kind of go into great detail of what this basically means, but the Grim Reapers are absolute cutoff times. The minimum pace times that we have in the cutoff time sheet, those aren't necessarily cutoff times. Those are just minimum pace times, and we base
to make those times.
Yeah, and we base when we close those aid stations off of those minimum pace times. So if you're continuously coming in behind those minimum pace times at aid stations, you're not gonna be able to miraculously make up that time.
Sure.
If you keep coming in behind, you're going to be cut off. And so that's where me as the race director or my staff have to make some judgment calls sometime. If you're you're constantly coming in behind those pace times, like we may have to pull you from the course.
Right.
And we reserve the right to be able to assess that stuff and make those calls if needed. I don't want to make those calls, and that's really where these Grim Reaper times come into play, is because the Grim Reaper times are absolute. So like if you come in even 1 second past the Grim Reaper time, like you're done. Like there's no arguing or
it's not only for us logistically.
No,
this is for your safety.
Right.
I mean, it comes down to runner safety, and a lot of times we know you've worked so hard and we know you're out there trying, but it's for your own safety that these are in place. So
it really is. And like I said earlier, like we contract with people to come work these aid stations for a set period of time. And like they've got lives that they've got to live too. So like we can't expect them to just stay there indefinitely.
Sure.
If you want to stay out there for another 10, 20 hours because you can do it. And I'm not going to argue with anybody whether they can or can't do a distance,
Right.
Cause I'm not going to fight with anybody about that, but just not during our time limit that we have established for this race. And so based on those Grim Reaper times, like we have for the 100-miler, we have 4 of them. And the first one is at Virgin Desert, which is 25.8 miles into the race. And that's at 2:20 in the afternoon. So so you have, and I've actually padded that a little bit from our minimum pace time. Our minimum pace time is 2:06. And I've given a little bit more time on that.
So you're being pretty liberal as far as that goes.
Right.
So
like we want to make sure that you guys, especially that early in the race, we want to make sure that you have every chance you can to continue on this race. And we've been pretty generous with our pace times that we've allowed for this event too.
So we got the 100-miler, Virgin Desert Aid Station 2:20. Yep. The next 100-miler is at 11:30 p.m.
Yep, and that's at Virgin BMX. So we actually have 2 Grim Reaper times at Virgin BMX. We have
because you got 2 passes.
Because you're coming into Virgin BMX twice. So when you come in the first time, you have to be out of Virgin BMX by 11:30. You can't hit the aid station by 11:30. You have to be on your way up to Guacamole by 11:30.
Right. Okay.
And so that's how those Grim Reaper times count. Is it's when you leave the aid station. So
right.
If you arrive at the aid station at the Grim Reaper time and then take an hour at the aid station,
that's not going to work.
That doesn't work out. You have to be on your way by that time.
So that first pass through Virgin BMX, 11:30 p.m. Second pass through Virgin BMX, which is coming off of Guacamole.
Yep.
This is at 6:30 a.m.
Correct, on Sunday.
Okay. Yes, on Sunday.
So before you head up Mondo Z on your way up to Goosebump Aid Station, you have to be out of that aid station by 6:30 in the morning on Sunday.
And then the final Grim Reaper is going to be at that Ruby Rider Ranch.
At that crew access point.
Okay, and that's 10 a.m.
Right. So when you come back up Goosebump and make your way up past that crew access point, before you drop down to head to Wire Mesa, you're going to hit that crew access point right next to the finish line. And if you aren't past that, so anybody that comes in past 10 a.m. on Sunday morning
will be cut off.
Is just going to be turned right into the finish line.
Okay.
Because you're not going to be allowed to continue at that point.
Okay. So. Perfect. And of course, 5:30 is your finish line cutoff on the 100-miler. 100K has a couple of Grim Reaper times.
Correct.
Virgin Desert Aid Station for the 100K at 3:15 p.m. And then another 100K at the crew access at Ruby Rider.
Same one.
And that's going to be at 9:15 p.m. So those are in your race guide. They're on page 2 if you want to look at those Grim Reapers, but that's kind of what you're up against. Again, we don't want to pull anybody off the course, but it's for your own safety. Know that it's a potential if you're falling behind. But we'll be as nice about it as we possibly can.
And we don't have any Grim Reaper times for the 50K and the half marathon. In fact, it's funny. I even added a little bit of time for the 50K just because I could.
You've got people out there anyway,
right? So we're not closing anything down. So I remember seeing somebody commenting on Facebook, like, "Oh man, this is going to be hard," because I noticed that they added some time to the overall cutoff time for the 50K. And it's not because it's any harder. Right. It's actually easier because you're not climbing Mondo Z.
Right.
I just had no reason to give you a hard
active crew that are going to be out there, so you get the benefit of a little bit more time on that. So say somebody does have a situation, say they need to drop, they've got a medical. What's our procedure on that?
So if you're feeling like you can't continue, the proper protocol for that is just make sure you hand your bib over to any of the aid station workers, and they'll call it in and get somebody to come pick you up. If it's at an aid station where we have crew access, your crew member can take you, but you have to hand in your bib and make sure that gets called in, because we don't want to be looking for you.
Well, that's what I was going to say is remember, we're keeping track of you with your bib and things like that. And if all of a sudden you're not there and we can't find you, we're going to go looking for you. So I always give people the advice that, when you're at an aid station, that's when you kind of take that whole inventory. Okay, how am I doing? Where am I at? Where am I going? And if you need to drop or something like that, do it at the aid station.
Right. Don't get a mile past the aid station and then decide I can't continue any further.
Right.
Because and it's happened many times at the races, because somebody, like Colleen said, they didn't necessarily take personal inventory of where they were at physically, and they left the aid station and they got a mile down the trail and realized I can't.
I'm done.
My leg's locked up. I can't move anymore. Yep. Well, some of these single track trails we can't drive.
Right. We can't get you. We can't extract you off that.
So to get you out of there, it becomes a much more challenging situation for us and search and rescue, even if we had to call them in to come and help you. So just be aware of that. That if it does require some in-depth, retrieval, then it's gonna be a lot more time.
It's going to be a minute. You're going to be there for a minute.
And if you're hurting, then you're going to have to be waiting in pain, and we don't want anybody to be.
No, we don't.
So.
And a good thing about this course, the majority of this course has really pretty good cell phone service.
Right.
There are a few spots up on Wire Mesa, Grafton Mesa, even up on Guacamole, where things might get a little spotty, but for the most part, you do have pretty decent cell service.
Right.
Dalton Wash is probably going to be a little spotty in there as well, but that is a good thing. You will be able to have that. So
anything down in the valley, down close to the town of Virgin is not.
Gooseberry Mesa
great.
is great.
Yeah.
Things like that. So you've got that as well. As far as medical, if you are in need of medical, we have medical staff and that are going to be able to be out there and available. And just be a good runner, be a good participant, help each other out. We're all out there together. And so we're going to rely on you guys to take care of each other. But we also have all of the medical staff. We have the volunteers. We're going to take care of you out there as well. So we hope that everybody's going to do great. Let's talk a little bit about, we've hit on our pacers, where our crew access is. How do we identify a pacer? We can't have 30 people running with somebody.
Correct. Yeah. So anybody who is going to be utilizing a pacer needs to register that pacer when they come to pick up their bib. And we have, and same with crew. So if you have a crew member that's just coming to support you at the aid stations where we have crew access available, you can't just have a van full of crew members all get out and just be clogging up the aid station. We got other runners and workers there, and we just can't have that. So each runner is going to be given a single crew bib and a single pacer bib.
Okay.
And so if you've got a pacer joining you, again, you need to register that pacer when you pick up your bibs on Friday the 9th. You'll be given one pacer bib, and you can only have one pacer with you on course at a time. So that bib needs to be exchanged between your pacers. So you can have as many pacers as you want. You can just have one at a time.
Out on the course.
And then at the aid stations, anybody who's helping you at the aid stations needs to have either their pacer bib or their crew bib on.
Okay.
And so you can't just have, again, like I said, you can't have a van full of crew and pacers all get out and all helping you all at one time. Like, you need to designate which one's going to be wearing the bib, and that person's the only one that can be. Tell
them to roll the windows down and cheer really loud.
Right.
Because we can't have it. So you'll get those bibs. Do those come with your packet pickup, or does everybody need to request that? How does that work?
They'll need to request it when they come to pick up their bib. So we'll make sure and have them sign for their pacer, and keep in mind too that the runners are responsible for their crew and their pacer's behavior. So if you have a pacer or a crew member that's being vulgar or unpleasant to our aid station workers,
bad sportsmanship,
like that, we don't tolerate that kind of stuff. And it's happened before where they feel like they've earned the right to be disrespectful to our aid station workers and yell at them for something. And that's absolutely not tolerated. We don't tolerate that. And if we find out of anybody doing that, then the runner themselves is going to be automatically disqualified for their pacer and crew members.
You always want to be nice to your aid station volunteers,
right?
Because
they're doing a lot for you.
They are doing so much. They're staying out there for hours and hours. They're making you food, making sure you're doing okay. They're taking care. They do such an amazing thing. Big shout out to all the volunteers that come.
Absolutely.
They do such great work. So we're going to get you to the finish line. That's the ultimate goal here.
Right.
As we get to the finish line, what do we have? What can we expect at the finish line?
So at the finish line, kind of like we talked about earlier, like it's going to be your typical finish line. We'll have, our wards and our recovery tent for the longer distances and stuff, like where they can come and get some food, and we'll have a medical tent there. So if you've got some medical issues and stuff that you need to have looked at, our medical director, Chad, he's amazing.
Chad's the best.
He does a great job of making sure that everybody is feeling tip top when they're ready to leave. But we'll have for each of the distances, you'll have a choice between the finisher medal or a mug, and then of course for the 100-milers you get a buckle. So
great.
So it's gonna be good.
And if you win an award, an overall award, how are we handling those awards? Are those going to be available there at the finish line, or will those be something later on?
It'll be something we'll have to ship, because we'll have to verify the results.
Everything's on ship time.
Before we ship everything.
Okay, so you can expect that later.
There's a good chance that we'll know, especially for the shorter distances, we'll know by Sunday morning we can verify all those results. So if you're like, even if you ran the 100K, like we'll know by Sunday morning who the winners are. So if you want to check the results, and if you're one of the winners, of the overall awards for the and that's the top 3 male and top 3 female for each of the distances, we'll have an award for those. We don't do age group awards, but we do have top 3 male and top 3 female overall for those distances. And so if you check the results and you're one of those lucky people that managed to snag one of those awards, we'll be hanging out around the finish line until 5:30 p.m. Waiting for the 100-milers. So come get. So you can come claim it then, and if not, we'll ship it to you. So
no, that's awesome. Talk to me about Avenza maps. If somebody wants to download the maps of the courses and things like that, it is available on that Avenza app, correct?
Right, and honestly, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm telling you, we get people all the time that question whether they're on course or not, and so they tend to waste time and wander aimlessly, making sure that they are where they need to be, and that can be solved quite easily just by pulling out your phone, pulling up your Avenza map, and just clicking on it to see where you're at. You'll have a little blue dot that basically indicates where you are in relation to the course.
And they work offline. That's what's great about these.
You can put your phone on airplane mode and conserve your battery, and it'll still work and show you where you're at. And so for the Avenza maps, if you've downloaded them before in the past, you're going to need to delete the old map and re-download the new one, because obviously the course has changed. And so you want to make sure you have the most recent map.
And we have really detailed instructions about how to do this.
Right.
It's on page 17 in the race guide. So very detailed, step by step, to walk you through that app and making sure you have the correct map.
Yeah, and you want to make sure you spell it out exactly how it's labeled, because like for the 100-miler, for example, it's the Zion 100-mile ultra run.
Yeah.
So if you type in Zion 100,
you're going to get something different.
You may get something. You might get one of our old maps or something like that. So you want to make sure. We update them all regularly, but when you pull up the map, it's going to be labeled Zion Ultra 100-mile map, 100-mile ultra run.
There you go.
And then the date is going to be 2017, because that's when we originally created this Avenza map. We update it every year, but that's when you see the 2017. Don't be alarmed by that. Okay. That's just what it says.
That's a great tip. So
and that's for all of them too, and they're all in the race guide. So just make sure you reference what it is in the race guide when you're searching for your map. And
perfect.
They're awesome.
No, it's gonna be great. We are looking forward to a great race. Lyle, of course, you did this as your first 100. what's, as we kind of wrap things up, what is that one piece of advice you have for people on this course? I mean, you live here in Southern Utah. These courses are literally in your backyard.
Right.
What's kind of the one thing that you'd like people to take with them with this? So one good piece of advice.
Well, socks.
He's really stuck on the socks. He wants to bring socks. I've never changed my socks during an ultra ever.
Oh, man.
Lyle changes them every age station.
So socks are a big thing. But no, like I think that kind of like what I keyed on earlier is just like, your nutritional needs are your nutritional needs. Like what works for me doesn't work for everybody else. I did a race one time and before the race I was drinking a soda pop, and I remember there's a guy that you and I both know, and he was telling me that I'm going to be puking my guts out the next day, and I've never had that problem.
And you were totally
ever.
fine, yeah.
I've never had that problem before. So like for him, it would have caused that problem to him. But for me, I was like, I can eat whatever I want.
Run your own race, right?
Run your own race. So, but if you have very sensitive stomach or you have very specific dietary needs, then make sure and put that in your drop bag and just like I said earlier, familiar yourself with the course. Make sure that you're thinking through like your own logistics for your race. Like my logistics to be able to operate the race, your logistics to be able to run the race, they're all unique to each of us. So like we just have to make sure that we're all, taking a little personal inventory and responsibility to make sure that we have the best event ever. Like I said earlier, having trekking poles for me makes a huge difference.
Sure.
To other people, it may not.
Yep.
So just kind of like you better than anybody else does.
And that's great. That's what's so unique about this sport. I think that's why we love it so much, is because we get to do our thing, but we get to do it in a community of like-minded people who are going out there to push their boundaries. And we got a great course for you at the Zion Ultra. We're excited to have you here, especially those of you who have never seen the sunrise over West Temple in Zion. I mean,
so amazing.
You're definitely in for a treat. It's going to be great. If you do have questions, you can always reach out to Lyle at vacationraces.com. So his email, lyle@vacationraces.com. Of course, we have customer service that can be helpful as well. info@vacationraces.com. We respond to social media all the time as well. So never go too far. If you've never done a Vacation Races event, you've never seen our company, you don't know our brand, we are just putting out a first timer podcast as well that kind of goes over some other details that are unique to Vacation Races that might be helpful for you as well. So you can look at that in your podcast app as well. Look for that first timer kind of orientation if you want a little more about Vacation Races and what this company is all about. So it's going to be awesome, Lyle. I'm excited.
I'm really looking forward to it.
It's good stuff. Great. All right. We'll see you out on the trail, guys, at the Zion Ultra 2021. You've been listening to the Vacation Races and Friends podcast. We love your feedback. Email podcast@vacationraces.com with comments, concerns, or stories you'd love to share. Make sure to watch for more episodes coming soon to vacationraces.com. This episode was produced by Colleen Rue in the Festival Sound Studio. For information about music licensing, contact Dane at vacationraces.com.